Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Creating Health and Wealth for Retirement podcast. This is going to be our New Year's edition. So, if it's not New Year's where you are when you're listening, it can be a new day for you starting today. This is Mark Dulaney. He's a 64-year-old cancer survivor, and he can do something that nobody else in the world can do. He can show you how to be 64 and active, virile, healthy, despite your current situation, and help you to have the retirement and life and the mobility and energy you want.
And he's Rick Collins. He is a corporate refugee, and he wants to help you get your money right so you retire wealthy. And when you put us together, we're helping you to create your version of health and wealth for retirement. And that's what we're here to do, Rick. Rick, go ahead back with the introduction of today's show.
As we, again, like I said, this is our New Year's show, and I hope you have a great 2025 or 2026 or 27, whenever you listen to this. But Mark's got an interesting topic today. So, Mark, take it away. What are we talking about today, Mark?
So one of the things, I've had a big obstacle in my life starting for 2024, and that was I got prostate cancer diagnosed late November of 2023. I spent all 2024 going through treatment, or I should say the first quarter of 2024 going through treatment, but the rest of the year suffering through the treatment. And as we approach the new year, I was thinking, I don't want another year like last year. I want to continue to grow this podcast, grow my business, grow my income, grow my life. The only thing I don't want to grow is really my body. I don't want to grow that way. And I got to thinking about how I help clients. And I'm not one of those if you dream it, you can achieve it type of coaches. I don't work with my clients that way. And I realized that what I did for my clients is I helped them solve the problems that kept them from exercising.
Mark, what's the biggest problem most people have in their lives? What's their biggest hang up to solve their problems?
I will get to that, but I just want to just say that the idea of, instead of us dreaming about the great things we're going to do in 2025, what if we looked at 2024 and said, why didn't I do it in 2024? And that's the basic thing that I really want to get to. Why didn't you do what you set out to do in 2024? And if you don't identify that, why do you think it's going to be different in 2025 or any year?
That's what I was getting at. Identifying, hey, I've got a problem, or I didn't do what I said I was going to do. It's admitting I've got a problem, or admitting I'm not where I want to be. A lot of people just live in denial, and denial is not just a river in Egypt. It is denying your current situation. So I don't have a problem, so I don't need to change anything.
Right. And it's not just that. It's also not admitting your role in your problem. When people do that, we'll talk about this, but they're basically saying, it's not my fault. I can't do it. There's nothing I can do. I did my best. Or they end up giving up. So that's the premise behind this actual episode of it. And so I'm asking you as a listener, and you too, Rick, and I'm asking myself this question. For 2025, if I, instead of focusing on what I want, I focus on why I'm not already doing that which will give me what I want, and I can apply that to my income, my relationships, my body, my finances, to everything. So basically speaking, you can tangibly and measurably identify problems that you can then solve, as opposed to wishing and hoping and dreaming about the wonderful things you want to create. That's the idea of what we want to do, and we're going to show them step-by-step ways to do that. Initial thoughts or comments, Rick, and also, what is a problem you dealt with in 2024 that we can talk about during this episode?
I've had some health issues, had back problems. I've gone through several back surgeries over the last several years, and that's one of the things that held me back. And interestingly enough, the back problems and the surgery drained so much energy and focus from me that I couldn't work on my business the way I wanted to and make my business goals happen. And that cascaded into having to cancel a family trip. I was going to take a cruise with my wife and our 5 kids, and My oldest is graduating college and had to cancel that because I couldn't afford the $20,000 extra that the cruise is going to be. And that really irritated me. And so I made an excuse. My back problems kept me from focusing on my business, and it just didn't happen. It's not my fault. And then I realized I'm playing the victim card, and that really irritated me.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about that word victim that you use in a few minutes. For me, I talked about my prostate cancer and the treatment. And since August 15th, for whatever reason, my cancer treatment sprung up and it really kicked my butt. It slowed me down. Mornings are terrible. And I find myself, for lack of a better thing, to make money driving Uber rather than building my business. And as we approach 2025, I really want to not focus in. I really want to change that and solve the real problem that I'm finding that I'm having. So we're going to talk about that, Rick, and you feel free to jump in with real stories. I know you do counseling, so the real problem isn't something else outside of it. Bottom line, though, and if you're in a hurry and you want to know the bottom line, if you, the person listening to me, you, Rick, me, are not the problem, then we are in essence a victim of whatever is the problem. And I don't like feeling like a victim. I don't want to be a cancer victim. I don't want to be a cancer treatment victim anymore. All of you who are listening to me, you, Rick, me, everybody, you have to make a decision. Are you going to be a victim of something else, or are you going to step up and do what's required to get what you claim you want? That's the
A lot of
ultimate
people
question.
choose to be a victim because they can blame somebody else. They can blame outside factors. They don't have to take ownership of their part of their situation. Now, bad things happen to good people all the time, and yes, you're a victim of a car wreck or you're a victim of a financial fraud, whatever. But you still
And
have a part.
I am a victim of cancer. I mean,
You
that's
are a
not.
victim of cancer. But you took part in actively seeking treatment and getting better instead of just rolling over and dying. So yeah, to some degree, I own part of my situation, whether it's my fault or not. I can choose to stay where I am, or I can choose to make changes to improve where I'm going to be.
Right. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because whether we're talking about health, wealth, income generation, relationships, marketing, there's always a problem that's keeping you from getting what you want. It's never, and what I want people to not say is, I'm just not good enough, or I just can't do it, or it can't be done by someone like me. I would love to change that perspective during this podcast episode. And all year, we're going to talk about how we can help people solve the problems, but this week is specific. So when you think about it, so here's a little bit of the primary focus of the lesson, Rick. So did you identify a problem that you had I want you to think about that. If you're listening to me, I want you to think about a problem. And I want you to understand that every problem has only one of three causes. The first cause we kind of talked about. You're a victim. And I have to say this, I'm a black man. I was born in 1960, and things were different in 1960. Now, there were people who were black, and let's say you're a woman. Historically, women have had a disadvantage. But there have always been black people, there have always been women, there's always been short people, overweight people, handicapped people, disabled people who rose up above their circumstances and did something special. So, before you claim the victim status, you got to really look at yourself and say, am I really a victim? Because once you're a victim, you have no power. Rick, are there areas of your life where you really can truly say you're a victim of something?
At 19 years old, I had a car wreck, and 7 months later, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And that was a big mental blow because I just lost a third of my life. That's all I knew is my life is going to be much shorter and it's going to suck because I've got diabetes through no fault of my own. Well, I fell asleep at the wheel and had a wreck, and they think that's what caused the problems. But
Well,
I
just
went
one
through
thing I got to say, falling asleep at the wheel does make it somewhat your fault. I'm just saying. I'm just
it's my
saying.
fault I had an accident, and they think that's what led to the type 1 diabetes. But in my brain, I got bitter and angry and thought God was punishing me for the bad things I did, and it was really unhealthy. And I chose to play that victim card and get stuck there, and that affected my relationships with my faith, with other people. And really, I went through a couple of years of rebellion. I walked away from my parents, moved in with a girlfriend at 22, didn't check my blood sugar for over 6 months. Stupid stuff that I did because I was stuck in that victim mentality, and I chose to be angry and resentful instead of being active and taking ownership of my health.
And so when I went through my cancer treatment, it was done in April. I was feeling better in April, in May, in June, in July, in August. But in the middle of August, all of a sudden, every cancer treatment symptom came back. And I've been the victim for since August of, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I've not been building my business. I do this podcast with you. You hear me talk and make excuses every week for why I didn't have the energy or the drive. I called it a lack of ambition. And finally, I woke up in preparing for this and realized that I'm playing the victim card now. I'm believing that my cancer treatment is keeping me from doing the things that I want to do for my life. And once I had that revelation, it was a complete change in how I'm looking at moving forward. And so, my best thing to you, if you're listening to me right now, is are you really a victim? Or is there something you can do to overcome the problem that's keeping you from moving forward? Because being a victim is the ultimate problem.
Yeah, our listeners may know, but I know I work with people in recovery, addiction recovery, hurts, habits, and hangups, and a lot of people get in that victim mentality. And what I tell them is, your past has brought you to where you are. It's made you who you are. It doesn't define who you're going to be. So if you can identify what you want to change in your life, you don't have to play victim to whatever happened to you in your past. You can learn from it, live with it, but move on and be something else, be more, be different, help other people because you've got experiences. But sometimes I find that people's biggest trauma or their struggles make them incredibly strong, make them empathetic and caring and more easy to relate to with other people. So whatever you are now, it's made you who you are, but it doesn't define who your future self will be. That's up to you.
And so one of the things I want to say about victimization is, number one, historically speaking, there's always some group of people that gets targeted within every society and they don't have the same opportunity. That may be true. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay there. But the second thing is I want to say is, when you talk about victims, is I believe that our society, and one week we got to have an episode on systems. Systems are not created to serve the people they say they serve. They're created for the people who create and profit from the system. So, for example, healthcare isn't about helping you and me be healthy. It's about creating systems that make the people at the top wealthy. Government is not about the people. It's about government power. Social Security is a perfect example of this. Social Security is money that the government collects and uses for their own purposes. It is not about you, the senior citizen about to retire. And if you understand that, you understand that society wants to make you a victim. And we can talk about this in another episode, but you being a victim gives other people power. So my encouragement to you, Rick, to me, and to everyone who hears this, don't be a victim because you're just making other people successful. Any last thoughts on victim, Rick, before we move on to the second problem?
No, I think we've talked about victims enough. Again, it's a mental choice, and that leads us into the second step. Go ahead, Mark.
And so if you're not a victim, then you have one of two types of problems that you can solve. You either have a mental problem or you have a method problem. And when I say that, something about us looks at our situation and we make a decision we're looking at it like we can't do it. And they're saying if you believe you can, believe you can't. Either way, I'm sure Master Shifu of Kung Fu Panda Rick has said something about that. But what you believe, right? What you think about that topic, your thoughts on that topic, how you feel about it, all of these things, if you're looking at those things wrong, you will not be successful at what you're trying to do.
Yeah, your mental well-being determines how you see the world. So if you think you're not worthy, or you're not successful, or you're not smart, or you're not lovable, those become self-fulfilling prophecies. The more I think, go ahead.
Or you're the wrong race, the wrong gender, the wrong age, the wrong weight, the wrong whatever. If you think you're the wrong one, then you won't do what you're supposed to do. Go ahead, Rick, continue.
It's really hard to break free of that mental prison of I can't do it. And a lot of that is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of being hurt, fear of being successful. We get locked in because of fear keeps us in that mental prison of, while my life may suck and this is unpleasant and uncomfortable, it's not what I want, making changes is too scary. So I'm going to stay stuck right here because at least I know what I got to deal with.
And so there's a fine line, and this is the key component, between being a victim or thinking you are a victim. So I got cancer. I'm a victim of cancer. There's no question about it. You get cancer, you're going to be a victim. If you don't do something about it, it's going to kill you. But treatment and other things after you get cancer sometimes becomes how you see yourself, not that you're really a victim, because that's the mental problem that you have. And if I could get someone, one of the first things I get people to realize is that they are not fat. They just see themselves as a fat person, so they live like it. Or they have another problem that causes them to do things that have made them overweight or broke or in a bad relationship. Rick, you had a reaction to that. I could see it.
Yes, I did. I will tell you that I used to weigh 300. I'm 6 foot tall. I used to weigh 315 pounds. I've lost over 100 pounds. I'm down to about 195 now. I still see myself as fat. I still see the flaws. I still think of, oh, I'm the fat guy. And I look pretty good for 53 years old, but in my mind, I'm still the fat, chubby kid that wore husky jeans because I had a weight problem all my life. So it's the reality and my mental way I see myself are not cohesive.
And
There's
I
noise
will,
there.
and I will confess this. Sometimes I see myself as a black guy who cannot be as successful as my counterparts. And that's a terrible place to be. But understanding the difference between, are you truly a victim? And if you're truly a victim, it means no matter what, you can't, people like you can't, there's no way to succeed. So for example, there are places in this world where people are born into horrible situations. They are truly victims because the government, the oppressors, whatever, won't let them do something to be more successful. That is not the case in the United States. You are choosing to be where you are, and separating yourself from being a victim to this is just my way of seeing me is the first step to freedom in every one of our lives. Being a victim, you can't.
Yes, it's a mental
Feeling
choice
like
to stay stuck where you are, and if your situation is holding you back, then you have to decide to change your situation in some way.
Correct. So being a victim means you can't. Feeling like a victim means you can, but you're choosing not to. So we got 3 problems. We've identified 2 of them. One is you're truly a victim. I am a victim of my height. I could not be a good basketball player because I can't make myself taller. Does that mean I can't still be fit, healthy, and way more active than a typical 60-year-old? No, that would be my choice. Victim, you can't. Second problem is mental, meaning I'm making a decision based on my beliefs about life that I can't do something. If you don't solve the second problem of a mental, you will never move forward to the third type of problem, which is a method problem. And a method problem gets into some things, and Rick, think about these as I mentioned them. It's what you're doing, what you're unwilling to do, what you can't do, what you believe that you're not doing but you should be doing, what you know you should be doing but you're not doing. And along with the quality and the quantity of what you do. Now, that's an exhaustive list, but basically speaking, method is what you do.
Yes, it's
And
what you're eating, the exercise you do, how you spend your money, what you spend your time doing, how you invest in yourself, and how you invest in your relationships. If those are not healthy or getting you what you want, it's going to be hard to even get past the stumbling blocks you create for yourself.
and so it doesn't matter what you want if you're not doing the things to get it. You're basically a victim of yourself because you're unwilling, unable to do what you know needs to be done. So the first step of every success is to identify what your real problem is that has kept you from doing that up until this point.
Yeah, it's interesting. My brother-in-law's got he's a big guy. He's got a weight problem, and he doesn't like the way he feels. But yet he last night he left to go get Jack in the Box tacos and cheeseburgers, and I'm like, you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting the same results you've always gotten. You don't like those results, so why do you can't stay stuck in this vicious cycle of I don't like what I'm doing, but I feel bad, and that's what I get into a lot is stress eating and in it, when I see addiction recovery, they change one addiction for another because we're bent towards unhealthy choices, and if you don't break that cycle and change your method, change what you do, you're going to keep getting the same results.
So I want to tell a quick story. Last night, this happened to me last night. I was already prepared to do this, but it was kind of a slap in the face to help me. So I am absolutely crazy about a woman. And it is my hope to spend the rest of my life with this woman. And we had a conversation about where I am and in life, and she made a statement that, you know, I couldn't take care of her right now because I've been in kind of a victim state over my choices, my actions, and the quality of what I've been doing for the last 4 months hasn't been up to a standard that would rise my income to where I can be the provider. And I'm confessing this in all honesty. It was like, whoa, she's kind of correct. And if I keep allowing my cancer treatment and how I feel to prevent me from doing that work, then I may never be able to take care of it. And I'll never be in her eyes what I want to be. And I think that is a very, very thing. And I encourage everyone, don't just think about your being a victim, how it affects you. How does it affect the people you care about? And so I made some decisions based on that conversation. I was already preparing this lesson. So God works in mysterious ways to get us to really see ourselves in things. But
Yeah,
ultimately
sometimes that third party commentary can be a slap in the face, and you can choose to be sad about it, or you can choose to use that for fuel to make the necessary changes that you want to make, but you haven't had the mental stick-to-itiveness until that third party came and gave you the slap in the face you needed.
So God bless the man who has met a woman that he wants to be better for. And now Jack Nicholson said it differently. He just said, you make me want to be a better man. But ultimately speaking, every man should have a woman in his life that he wants to be better for, if only just for her. And I have such a woman, and I'm really, really glad and excited. And I really felt differently after that conversation. And, you know, I really looked at myself, and I have been acting like a freaking victim of my cancer treatment for too long now. And we did our call before we went live, and I actually talked about these are the changes I'm making in my life, and it's all focused on my behavior, something I have absolute control of every day. I'm just going to say this, Rick, and then I'll let you chime in here. I have no goals for 2025. I don't have an income goal. I don't have a weight goal. I don't have any goal. I have behavior goals. I have goals for contacts. I have goals for activity. I have goals for things that I have 100% control over. And Rick, I would encourage you to have those type of goals. I would encourage everyone who's listening to me. You cannot control results, but you can control what you do to create results.
Yeah, that's always interesting. As we talk, this is our New Year's edition. So New Year's Day, you always get a ton of people in the gym because they've made a resolution. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to do this. Big goals, but then they go for a day or two, and then they disappear because they didn't see the immediate results. I encourage people I talk to set, like you said, daily goals, activity goals, be consistent. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to set aside $500 a month for my finances. I'm going to read so many pages in a book every day. Not, I'm going to lose 50 pounds next year. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. So that activity, that consistency, that discipline is what you need to focus for in making these changes. And your end goals will happen, but it's hard to not get unmotivated or frustrated when you set big goals but don't have the steps to get there.
So I've got a challenge for you, Rick,
Oh
live
boy.
in front of hundreds and thousands of people soon. Here's a real simple thing. Next week's show is already recorded, so we cannot do it for next week's show. But after that, I challenge us to come and report what we did the previous week, make commitments for performance and behavior, and actually come back and be accountable to our audience that we are not being a victim, that we're not focusing in on so much this grand result for the year, but we're focused on what we can control, which is what we did the previous 7 days. Would you be up for that challenge, Rick?
I think we need to demonstrate and model that consistency. So yes, I am.
All right. And so, audience, if you're listening to us, you have a reason to come back every week because you can share with us your commitments and what you did. And we can create that kind of a community. And if we get people involved in doing this, we can maybe do something where we can have a forum where people go beyond just hearing us once a week. But we'll talk about that at some point when we get there. So, Rick, you and I, we are committing that every week, not for the show that will originally air on January 8th, but January 15th and beyond, we're going to talk about what we did the previous 7 days, and did we stick to our own commitments. And we'll have some setbacks. There'll be weeks we won't do it. But we will have to either claim that we were a victim, and that's why we didn't do it, which means we're powerless and we're weak and pathetic, which we don't want to be, or we had a mental block that kept us from doing it and what we did to overcome it, or what we're going to do to overcome it, or we had a method problem, meaning that we didn't schedule or we didn't make plans, something. But everything I need people to, what I want people to do, you, me, and whoever's listening, is basically say, I have total control over my 24 hours in a day, and I'm going to use it to create the life I want. And if we take that control, we will ultimately create the life we want.
Yeah, there's cost to living, there's cost of everything we do. And I'm going to quote Jim Rohn again. There's a cost of discipline, or there's a cost of regret. And the cost of regret is 10 times the price you're going to pay versus the discipline of making choices, being consistent, doing the things you set out to do. So I encourage everybody to identify where you are, then see what you want to change, and then figure out what you have to do. Whether it's get past your mental block or change the method of which you're trying to accomplish these new things so you can move forward, whether it's spirituality, health, fitness, lifestyle, education. All these things can be improved. Consistency is key.
So this is being recorded on December 28th, and it'll air on January 1st. And what we're committing to is that the following week, we will have a set of things that we intend to accomplish. So, for example, I will produce content Monday through Saturday. Whether or not that's the recording, the editing, or the posting, every day I'm producing content to engage an audience of people who care about creating health in retirement. I will also make contacts or have conversations with a minimum of 5 people every day about how I would be able to help them. Whether they contact me or whether I have to do personal reach out to people, I will do that every day, minimum, for the month of January, to expand and grow in the month of February. Rick, what are you committing to doing in terms of activity?
I'm committed to posting 3 forms of content every day, 7 days a week: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm also committed to reaching out to 5 people a day for what I do, talking about finances, personal education. It's important to have action, whether it's effective or not. It's the action every day that matters.
And so for me, another commitment I'm making is I'm committed to exercising 5 times a week. And that could be running, that could be calisthenics, it could be weight training. But 5 times a week, I'm committed to exercise. I can control that. I want to get my body. So every activity we perform has to have an ultimate purpose, a goal in our lives. I want to get my body back to where I was before I got cancer. And in order to do that, I have to do exercise. So I'm not going to focus on distance. I'm not going to focus on numbers as much as I'm going to focus on the activity.
I'll step up
Five.
and join you with that. I'm going to exercise 5 times a week.
All right. And then in relationships, I have a woman I absolutely love, that I absolutely want to spend the rest of my life with. So I want to create, and so the things that I'm doing for my business and my income, and one of the ways I want to show her and I want to be able to take care of her and help her and be the man that I'm capable of being. But I also want to make sure that I'm also loving to her on a daily basis, or at least when we see each other and we get together. I want her to feel loved by her definition, not by my definition. And so I know she likes flowers once a week. I know that she loves it when I give her a foot massage. So there's things like that that I'm going to do to make sure that she feels loved. Rick, what are you going to do to make sure your wife feels loved?
Well, my wife's love language is physical touch and gifts as well. So I'm going to be more attentive to her needs. We used to do a daily morning cuddle time that kind of got pushed to the side because I'm working from home now. But I'm going to make sure I spend time connecting with her and talking and cuddling and holding, and then also she likes flowers. So I'm not copying you. I'm modeling you. Get my wife flowers and something nice to know, to help her to understand that she is treasured and valued, and I strive to be worthy of her every day.
So we all have done this. We've sat down and we've written out New Year's resolutions and how we're going to improve our body, we're going to improve our income, we're going to improve our wealth, we're going to improve this, that, and the other. But Rick and I want this podcast to be your flagship or model for how to actually make 2025 your most successful year of your life, as well as our most successful year of our lives. And so I've got activities related to growing my business and my income. I've got activities related to growing or improving my body and its health. And I've got activities to improve my love life with the woman that I'm so crazy about. Rick has them. So if you're listening to us right now, whether or not it's January 1st or whether it's September, no matter what year it is, if you hear this, what are your things that you're going to do? And feel free to share them with us. Wherever you're listening, there's a place you can leave a comment, or you can contact us at one of the methods that we will give you at the end of the show. But what are you going to do? What problems are you going to solve? Because almost everything is about your behavior, not about outside circumstances. So, are you a victim and you want things you can never have? Do you have a mental problem as to how you're looking at it, that you just don't believe in you? I'm telling you, you can do it, but most likely it's also a method problem involved in there. You got to do something if you want to create something special. Rick, I think this has been a powerful show. I hope the people who are listening engage in it and make decisions to do something to create the life they want by activity and solving problems. Rick, any last thoughts about this episode?
Yeah, we've given a lot of great information, and I do think it's really good for people to understand that if they're stuck, they don't have to stay stuck. One of the things that people get frustrated by is, how do I get past my mental block or my method block? That's when somebody who has experience and can give guidance comes in really handy. So I encourage everybody to reach out to somebody who can help you, who you recognize as having some experience or strategies that can get you out of where you are and get you out of the rut. And if it's health, talk to Mark. If it's money, people like me. If it's spiritual or medical, talk to an expert in your field to get the guidance you need so you're not just banging your head against the wall trying to make a difference, because that leads to frustration. There are tools out there that can help you, and that's why we do this podcast, is to help people understand there's another way to do things. You're not stuck where you are. So talk to people like me or Mark for health and finances, or whatever help you need to get you the tools you need to make those changes so you can be consistent and can see success. And a little bit of success goes a long way in keeping you motivated to keep going and doing the things you set out to do.
So I agree with what you said, but I think there's another thing that everyone can do right now in this moment before they leave wherever they are right now, whether it's your car, whether it's your computer, whether it's your phone, and that is do what we did, commit to an action. Because ultimately nothing changes until you change, and the thing you can change right away is your behavior. So if you have a health goal, drink water more than anything else. If you have a financial goal, Rick, one thing they can do immediately.
Stop using your credit card to buy plastic crap.
Okay. Second thing you can do is just go for walks. Start walking. Don't join a gym. Start walking. If you live in the Northeast and it's snowy and rainy, okay, I get it. Get a treadmill. Bottom line is do something. Nothing beats action. Affirmations, they're wonderful, but actually doing something is a step in the right direction. So this is the show for today, Rick. Final thoughts about creating health and wealth for retirement by solving problems instead of just dreaming about what you hope happens.
It is never too late to become the person you were intended to be. I believe everybody is God's original masterpiece, and we get in our own way. So make decisions, take some action, and in a year from now, your future self will thank you.
Yes. The most important thing that you can do is give up on being a victim of what you think is stopping you from being successful. And so I wrote a book called Wealthology, The Science of Financial Success. And in that book, I said one thing that I think is true of everything. When you become a victim of someone or something, you give them everything that they want. Now, I wrote that in 2004 in the context of racism and sexism and every other ism that you want. When you buy into the fact that because you are a woman, because you are short, because you are overweight, because you are black, because you're Spanish, whatever, or even because you're white, when you buy into the fact that you cannot be as successful as other people because of who you are, you give those people everything that they want. Don't be a victim. You don't benefit. The people you love don't benefit. But the people you hate because they're making you a victim, they benefit when you accept your status as a victim. That's all I got, Rick. What do you got? If someone wants to talk to you, how do they get in contact with you?
If someone wants to talk to me about finances and infinite banking and debt elimination, go to getmydebtfreedate.com. That's getmydebtfreedate.com.
And if someone wants to talk to me, simply go to school.com, THMCLUB, school.com. I am excited about this show, Rick. I think that if someone listens to us and applies what they say, they're taking the first step to absolutely changing and transforming their life. And I'm excited about that. That's why we do the podcast.
It's been a great show. Everybody remember, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Don't stay stuck where you're not happy. Make changes and take action.
So my last words are, make your commitment to an action or behavior, a choice, an action, a behavior that's going to move you forward and create some forward momentum. Have a good week, everybody. Next week, we're doing a show that's already been recorded, so you won't hear how we did with our action items, but our show 2 weeks from now, you will be able to hear, and we'll report every week. We'll create action items, we report them, but we want you to do the same thing. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you from this show in 2 weeks, but we do have a great show next week, Rick, which we're supposed to promote that. Next week, the show is called The 5 Motivations. 5 things, 5 states of being that cause you to act in positive ways or not act or act in negative ways. And when you understand them, it'll help you with what we just covered today to help keep you from continuing to be a victim. Say goodbye, Rick.
Everybody have a great day. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
And we are out.